Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. And today I will be reading a multi-character listener by me. So let's get into it. Muichiro. Muichiro was never one to be mean to you. After all, he was an extremely gentle being, aside from the demon slayer part. But it was his job. It wasn't like anyone would be gentle to demons. But you were someone that you loved and cared about. And so being cruel to you, or mean, was not something that you wanted. But he had a headache today. His mind was not clear, and it felt like someone was constantly banging on his head. So the headache, coupled by some anger that he had, that's what truly invited that response from him. But it's nothing you would see usually. You went to hug him, worried about why he may be so upset and so angry, but then he pushed you away. Stop being so clingy, Ryan. You flinched as if you were hurt by his words, and though you were not hurt physically, it still hurt you, even though you could tell that he was just in a bad mood. Well, I'm sorry then, Muichiro. You have some time alone then. I'll leave you be. He whispered, and a flash of regret and guilt came upon his eyes. But it wasn't like there was anything he could change now. It was what he said, and the least he could do was at least be responsible enough to take accountability for it. So we'll let you go, but he will apologize at a later time, and perhaps when he can do it well, when his head's not about to explode. Tengen. Tengen was someone who loved clinginess. He loved when you were so sweet with him, when the two of you cuddled or hugged, or were affectionate with one another. So that response from him may be quite surprising, but he was just in a bad mood today. He'd had a fight with one of his wives, and, well, he knew he was in the wrong, but he couldn't make her understand what his viewpoint was. Perhaps he was a little bit rough in his wording, but what could he do? It wasn't like the world was all soft and nice. It wasn't usual that he fought with any of them or you. But it was probably because he was already in a bad mood, and he had no idea why. So he went up to him, hoping to offer some comfort or some advice. And you put a hand on his shoulder, guiding him into a hug, when he just pushed you away, gently but still doing so. I'm not in the mood for your clinginess, Ryan. And you felt hurt upon his words, like they had stabbed you in the heart. But what did you really expect? He was in a bad mood for a reason, and it wasn't like you were his favorite out of the four. So, you just nodded, apologizing, but before you could go, he grabbed you, pulling you gently into his arms and apologizing to you instead. You've got nothing to be sorry for, Ryan. I don't know what it is with me today, but I really am sorry. I'll make it up to you and them. Just be patient with me. And you were. For all he had done to you, that was the least you could offer him. Rengoku. Rengoku is an angel to you. You've never seen him raise his voice at you or be angry, and most of the time, he had extremely well-controlled emotions. Perhaps it was growing up with his father, who was needlessly violent and had a temper of his own, that made him see this as an important thing to control. He didn't want to be like him in any manner. So of course, he tried his best. But he was still human. He made mistakes, and it wasn't like you could avoid them all at every single turn. So, when he was already fighting with someone and had walked away, you went to wrap your arms around him and offer him some comfort. He looked to be, well, you couldn't really make anything out of his expression, except the fact that he was extremely angry and annoyed. But then you wrapped your arms around him, and he pushed you away. It's not the time for you to be clingy, Ryan. I need to be alone right now. You understood him. You really did. You didn't blame him for wanting to be alone. It was something that was easy for you to comprehend. But perhaps it was his wording that made you wonder if you were too clingy sometimes and he refused to say it. And it had just come out right now. But then, once he notices you're not being your usual self for a few days, he asks you why, and he thinks back to that moment, and he apologizes, telling you he didn't mean it, not in the way you understood. He just couldn't word himself right, but he didn't mean to hurt you, not in any way. So please, do forgive him. Giyuu Tomioka. Now, Giyuu was a special case, since for the most part, you knew he isolated when he was angry, so perhaps trying to do this a different way was your fault. But it wasn't like you saw that he was very angry from the outside. It was hard to read him at times, with him having a poker face and all. You didn't really get what he was going through at times. And that was something that would develop only over time. But for now, it has only been about 2 months since the two of you started dating. So it was not like you were going to be an expert in no time. You too had your own flaws, you supposed. So when you went up to him, wrapped your arms around him, telling him there was nothing to worry about, he shook his head, gently taking your hands away. I'm not in the mood, Ryan. I really am not. And I'm not in the mood for your clinginess. We can do this another time, he said, leaving you alone in the living room and going to his room and closing the door. He could have just said the first part. Why did he have to say that you were clingy? You had no idea. And that hurt you more than anything else. So you just sighed. You would perhaps have cried a little bit, but it was not like you were going to tell him that. But then later, when he notices that you're not hugging him as usual, he actually knows what he did wrong. And then he hugs you, telling you that you were not clingy at all. But he just doesn't know how to pick his words sometimes. And he was in a really, really bad mood. But he's sorry. And he'll do better. So please, go back to being yourself again. And do not think about what he said earlier. He will even make your cake. So give him a chance.